we all watched on Friday night the Arizona Cardinals open the preseason, and I'll just speak for myself on this one, but I think I'm speaking for you too. I was surprised at how impressed I was by how they played. Not just the level of overall physicality, not just the level of overall basic competence that they played the football game with, which if, you've watched Cardinal football the last couple of years, there hasn't been a lot of that, right? Just getting plays in on time. I was impressed with the defense. I did not think that defensive line was going to be able to put that kind of pressure on Russell Wilson to the point where it was even suggested on NFL.com that Sean Payton might have felt compelled to leave his offense out on the field for an extra series or two because he didn't like what he was seeing out of them. He didn't like what they were doing out there, and I think some of that had to do with the Cardinals' defense and how well they got after Russ.
It's interesting you mentioned that. On NFL.com, they listed the 60, everything to know about rookie debuts, position battles, and more, and they listed like 62 things. And number 6 on the list, number 6, Russell Wilson took more massive hits in 4 preseason drives against the Cardinals than Peyton Manning did during entire seasons with the Broncos. Some of those hits were on the offensive line, but one of the sacks came after Wilson ignored an open Jerry Jeudy, held onto the ball way too long. After 3 ugly drives, including a fumble, Wilson continued to play into the middle of the second quarter, leaving the Broncos starters to score against the Cardinals' second and third teamers on a 4th down throw where Judy's defender fell down. Stidham was even worse in relief of Wilson. That was one of their top 6, 62 things they mentioned. And number 6 was Russell Wilson got his ass handed to him.
Yeah.
Now, you don't get your ass handed to you unless, now they didn't give credit. They didn't give credit. They just mentioned that. But the credit goes to the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
The credit goes to the pressure that they got. You got a sack out of Gardeck. You got a sack out of Cam Thomas. You had a big hit by Jesse Lucetta. That was a big hit by Lucetta. Like, they were getting pressure on Wilson, and they were hitting him. And that is not something that we truly expected to see in the first preseason game.
Not at all. They were getting passes batted down by L.J. Collier. Zaven Collins looked very, very competent in his role as an edge rusher.
They batted a lot of passes down.
There were a lot of deflected passes.
KG batted one down. I was taking notes on all the batted down passes. There was a bunch of them. 4 or 5, I think.
It was the best part about watching that game. I mean, it was very, very surprising to see just how hard a defensive line and a front 7 that quite honestly we kind of thought, and look, that one preseason game changes everything. If we get to the end of the preseason and it's like this, we might have to reflect a little differently on the Cardinals front 7. But the way they got after it was the biggest surprise of that game because they played hard for a defensive line that wasn't supposed to be very good, for a front 7 that was loaded with question marks. Man, they got Dennis Gardeck played like a dude with his hair on fire. Zaven Collins looked really good in small spurts playing off the edge like
Especially on that one stop on a running play where he's lined up on the right. He was lined up on the right side, and then they were running the opposite side, and he just came across the line. Nobody picked him up. He made a big tackle. It was a good play. It was a solid play. It was a good play. You want your defensive lineman to read that play, react, and make a stop. He made a stop. It was solid. He didn't play a lot, but when he did play, he was out. He was impactful.
So after one game, okay, we're impressed. After 2 games, if it happens again, we might sense a little bit of a trend. If it happens in all 3 preseason games, are we going to have to reevaluate what we think about this defense and their ability?
How many wins did you think the Arizona Cardinals were going to have this season?
I think I've got them down for 3.
Okay. Is there anything they can do to get you to believe that they're going to win 6? 6 and 11?
It would start with the defense, because I think that's the reason why they're only going to win 3. I think the defense is going to be, on paper, I think they don't look to be very good.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know that anything that they do in the preseason is going to change your win-loss totals by more than 1 game. You might be like, okay, I think they're gonna win 4 games now. Look, they could have played awful in all the games. You said, man, they might not, I'm going to go from 3 to 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to go from 3 to 1. They're not going to win a game. But if they play well enough, I don't think you're going to be like, that's it. That's it. This team's going 9-8 and making the playoffs. Nothing they can do in the 3 preseason games is going to make us change our opinion to that level.
No, and I'm, it's interesting, and I think it's good that you kind of zoom out on it as quickly as you did, because I really was just talking about a defense being better than I thought it was going to be, and not necessarily how it impacted a win-loss total. Just maybe they're going to be better defensively than I'm giving them credit for, but it's interesting to think,
they might be,
how does that apply to the win-loss total? Because I really think offensively, in particular when they get Kyler back, they got some dudes. They got Zach Ertz back today.
Huge.
According to the reports on NFL.com, he's going to be ready by week 1. If Hollywood Brown can stay healthy, I know it's a big if with Rondale Moore. If he can stay healthy, James Conner, they got a good offensive line. I think they'll be able to score points. My prediction of them winning 3 games is based off the fact that I think defensively they're going to give up a ton of points. If they're better than I think defensively, do I alter my win-loss percentage? I might by a game
That's
or
it.
2, but that's it.
And I think maybe more than anything is that they'll be more competitive in some of the games what they did when we didn't think they would be. Like they might, like a lot of us thought that they might get blown out in some of these games. Well, maybe they'll be a little bit more competitive, but still not win. I don't know that anything they do in a preseason makes me alter my thoughts by a whole lot.
Fair, but if they're better defensively than we thought, and I get it. You're in your car right now and you're probably screaming at me. That's a hell of a leap to make after one preseason game, and I would agree it is.
Bergie's got him in the Super Bowl.
No, I do not. I'm just talking hypothetically. If they're better defensively than we're giving them credit for, if they're better defensively than we projected, okay. I do think that reflects very well on Jonathan Gannon and his ability to coach him up. I think that reflects very well on Nick Rawlis and his ability to coach him up. How many times did Dave Pasch mention during the broadcast he's the youngest coordinator in the NFL, right? He's just turned 30 this summer. If he can, you look at that depth chart, there does not appear to be a lot of talent on the Cardinals defensively, especially along the defensive line and in the secondary. If he can get better performances out of them over the course of the season, that really reflects well on Gannon and Rawlis, and really on Monty Austinfort, his ability to kind of construct a roster. I know it's a big if to make after one preseason game. I'm just talking about kind of in general if this thing trends this way all year long.
It was hard not to be impressed when we were at Cardinals camp by Drew Petzing, by Jonathan Gannon. We interviewed them. We had them. We sat down with them. We talked with them before the break. We talked with them after the break, stuff that you guys don't get to hear. You just hear the interview. It's hard not to be impressed with the both of them. I think they've got the makings of a pretty good coaching staff right now. My expectations are not high. I think that they're going to take their time. They're going to build it the right way. I know for a fact that Monty Austinfort wants sustained success, and you got to do that a different way. It's not about just trying to win somewhere between 7 and 10 games and get to the playoffs, and that hurts you in the future. It's about the future. They've made almost all of their moves are made with an eye on the future.